What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. It's good to be here. Great weekend of college and NFL football to talk about. So let's get it rolling here. On to college football week 2, starting out on Friday. We had 2 games that we covered. BYU, the upset over SMU. And it's been shaky for the Mustangs so far this season. I mean, Preston Stone, I don't know if he got hurt in this game because he only threw four balls. But, it was not a great night for the Stangs at home there. Kevin Jennings for them, 15 of 32, 46.9%, 140. A pick, 9 carries, 38 yards. So Jennings has also not been that great in the first 3 games for the Mustangs, but hopefully SMU can pick it up there. Still looking pretty solid in the ACC. Jake Retzlaff for the Cougars, though, solid but unspectacular night. 3 turnovers probably led to this game being closer than it should have been. 53.6%, 202, a touchdown, 2 picks. 10 carries for 35 yards and a fumble as well. Pretty solid night on the ground, leading the way. SMU's running back Brashard Smith, 14 carries, 75 yards. Did have 2 fumbles, which cost the Stangs, so evened it out the 3 turnovers there with Jennings' interception added in, so 3 and 3, and 4 catches for 21 yards as well. BYU running back Enoch Nawahine, he had one of the touchdowns for the Cougars there. And his teammate, wide receiver Darius Laster, led the game in receiving, 2 catches, 62 yards. Also, touchdown coming from BYU's tight end Mata'ava Ta'ase on his 2 receptions. Defensively, I'm going to go with BYU defensive end Blake Mangelson, 7 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. BYU plus 12.5. They win outright under 55.5. Duke 26-20 upset win in double overtime. The Blue Devils, I did not think we're going to win this one. Jimmy had a great night in the picks. He went undefeated on Friday and continued that into the Saturday afternoon games as well. But yeah, I did not think Duke was going to be able to win this one. I thought Northwestern had a great first weekend, and Ryan Braun really had this team on the right track. Malik Murphy was really good, though. 61.5%, 242, 3 touchdowns, a pick. Mike Wright, not quite there yet for the Vanderbilt transfer. 55.6%, 158, 1 pick, 8 carries for 17 yards. The star of the night, though, even though they lost, was Northwestern running back Cam Porter. 16 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 27 yards. He was excellent running and receiving there. Duke wide receiver Jordan Moore, he led the game in receiving, 11 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Excellent night for him. And 2 touchdown night for his teammate, wide receiver Eli Penkel there, caught touchdowns on both of his catches. And defensively, I'm going to go with the top guy there, Duke linebacker Alex Howard, 14 tackles, 8 solos, and 2.5 tackles for loss. Really solid defensive performance there. Duke plus 2.5. They win outright over 37.5. On Saturday, number 3 Texas bludgeoning number 10 Michigan, 31-12. And of course, the Wolverines had to score at the end in the fourth quarter to hit this over, which was super annoying. Luckily, the Oklahoma game didn't go over, so it didn't matter anyways. Regardless, Quinn Ewers was excellent. I mean, only 66.7%, but that's really good in college football. 246 yards, but 3 touchdowns. He was excellent. Pocket movement, scrambling ability. There was really just not a lot stopping this Texas offense as they kind of toned it down in the second half. Davis Warren, again, this is why I didn't have Michigan in my 12-team playoff. It's the quarterback. I just do not trust, whether it's Davis Warren. Alex Orji really didn't play a ton in this game, but you can't win without a quarterback. You just can't. So, yeah, I think that's going to have the Wolverines struggling most of the rest of the year. Their defense is going to keep them in games. They didn't really this game, but they really haven't found a lot of success on the ground. And I know I say that, and Edwards had 5.1 yards per carry, but he only had 8 carries, right? So they were throwing the ball because they were behind pretty quickly in this game. Warren, though, 66.7%, 204, touchdown, 2 picks. Texas wide receiver Ryan Wingo, the true freshman, he actually led the game in rushing, 55 yards on his lone carry. No target, no receptions on the day for him, but helping the offense out with a big run. And Texas running backs Jarek Gibson and Jaden Blue both scoring on the day. Gibson with a rushing score, Blue with a receiving touchdown. Big tight end day. Texas tight end Gunnar Helm, he led the game in receiving, 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Colston Loveland had a big fumble, one of the top players in the Mackey sweepstakes in the preseason. You also had touchdowns from receivers Samaj Morgan of Michigan and Matthew Golden of Texas. Defensively, got to go with Texas defensive back Andrew Makuba, the Clemson transfer, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass defense, and 1 pick. Texas minus 6.5 covers, like I said they would, over 41.5 by the hook because Michigan sucks. Number 8, Penn State, 34-27 squeaker over Bowling Green. This was, I don't know what was going on with Penn State. It's always week 2, though. Week 2, for some reason, is always upset weekend. Yeah, Penn State was trailing early in this game and found a way to win. I think that's a solid response by the Nittany Lions team and a good sign for James Franklin. And while Drew Aller maybe not playing as well as he did against West Virginia, they still had the ground game going and the defense stood up when it needed to. So despite 27 points, I think Tom Allen, will feel okay with the situational football that they played. Connor Bazelak was excellent for the Falcons, though. 64.1%, 254, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Drew Aller, like I said, only 20 passing attempts, but 65%, 204, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. I mentioned the ground game was going. Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen both over 100 yards in this one. Singleton 13 for 119 and a touchdown. Also caught a 14-yard score. Allen 101 yards on 14 carries there. And Bowling Green running back Jamal Johnson, he got into the end zone on one of his 5 totes. Another tight end game here. Big numbers for the end men here. Penn State tight end Tyler Warren led the game in receiving 8 receptions, 146 yards. And Bowling Green's big main weapon on their offense, tight end Harold Fannin Jr., 11 receptions, 137 yards, a touchdown, and 0 for 1 passing there. His teammate Malcolm Johnson Jr. also catching a touchdown, and Penn State wide receiver Omari Evans caught the lone score one of the 2 scores from Drew Aller. Defensively, I'm going to go with Penn State safety Zakee Wheatley, 6 tackles, 2 solos, 1 pass defense, and 1 pick. Bowling Green plus 35.5 covers easily over 51.5. Number 16, Oklahoma State closing one out against Arkansas, 39-31, double overtime in this one. And once again, it's Alan Bowman, I think, is going to be the reason why Oklahoma State doesn't get to the Big 12 title game and doesn't, win as many games as some people think they should, because he had a pretty decent day. But when they shut down Ollie Gordon, I don't think Bowman is the elite quarterback to be able to actually win big games when they play some of the other top opponents in the Big 12 this season. So, Bowman 56.3%, 326, one touchdown, one pick. Did get the win because Ollie Gordon came on strong in the double overtime. But Talon Green is a guy I think a lot of people got to look into because he's been excellent. 57.8%, 416 yards, a touchdown, a one interception, 18 carries, 61 yards. He's the modern dual threat quarterback, very fast as well. So definitely want to keep your eye on as the season moves forward and the Razorbacks. His running back had an awesome day. Utah transfer running back Jaquindon Jackson, 24 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have a fumble, but he got 2 receptions for 21 yards also. And Ollie Gordon, again, struggled a lot of the day. The Razorbacks defense did a great job shutting him down. Did get into the end zone, though, and caught the 2-point conversion that put Oklahoma State up 8, and then the defense closed it out. But how about the crazy good day for Arkansas wide receiver Andrew Armstrong, leading the way in receiving 10 receptions, 164 yards there. Oklahoma State wide receiver Brennan Presley, he had 2 scores on the day, 1 receiving, 1 rushing 3 yards from 3 yards out. And then Arkansas tight end Luke Haas caught the other touchdown, or the lone touchdown there from Talon Green. Defensively, it's really pick your guy you want. I mean, Nick Martin was fantastic. 16 tackles, 8 solos, 4.5 tackles for loss. You also had Oklahoma State defensive end Obi Ezigbo, 9 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. And then the guy that scored the touchdown, Oklahoma State corner Cale Smith, just 1 tackle and a 73-yard pick 6 there. Arkansas plus 10.5 covered, over 60.5 easily. 70 points in that one. Number 17, Kansas State. Another close one, 34-27 over Tulane. Darian Mensah for the Green Wave there, 65.5%, 342, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Avery Johnson, not his best game, 65.2%, 181, 2 touchdowns, though, 8 carries for 40 yards. Big rushing numbers from the running backs in this one. Green Wave running back Mekhi Hughes, 21 carries, 128 yards, touchdown, 5 catches for 37 yards. DJ Giddens for the Wildcats as well, over 114 on 19 carries, and 4 catches, 63 yards, and a receiving touchdown. His teammate Dylan Edwards, the Colorado transfer, also with a rushing touchdown on the day. Tulane wide receiver Mario Williams, he had a big day, over 100 yards, 128 yards on 6 receptions, leading the game in receiving. His teammate tight end Alex Bauman caught 2 touchdowns on both of his receptions. And then tight end Will Swanson for Kansas State caught a touchdown on 1 of his 2 catches there. Defensively, another fruitful defensive game, even high scoring like the Oklahoma State game was, but 2 guys for me, both on Kansas State. Linebacker Austin Romaine, 8 tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And safety Jack Fabry, 1 tackle. It was a solo and a 60-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Tulane plus 9.5 covered, over 46.5. 61 in that one. One of the first upsets of Saturday, Syracuse beating number 23 Georgia Tech 31-28 in the Dome. I know, I think I lone wolfed. I lone wolfed Georgia Tech on the road. The Dome is still the Dome, and it's they still got the job done. Did the Qs? But Ohio State transfer quarterback Kyle McCord was excellent, really, to say. 69.6%, 381, 4 touchdowns, 3 carries for 10 yards as well. It's as good as it gets right there. I mean, Haynes King did best him in completion percentage, 74.4%. That's ridiculous in college. 266, 1 touchdown, 6 carries, 67 yards, and 2 rushing scores as well. So really solid day for Haynes King as well. 3 total touchdowns. Just not enough at the end for the Yellow Jackets there. Syracuse running back LaQuint Allen led the game in rushing, 83 yards on 15 carries, 5 catches, 47 yards. His counterpart, Jamal Haynes, for Tech, ran one in to the end zone on the ground. Syracuse tight end Aronde Gadsden, the second big day, 93 yards on 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. His teammate, wide receiver Trevor Pena, also 2 touchdowns on his 6 catches. And then Georgia Tech wide receiver Chase Lane, touchdown on one of his 3 receptions. Defensively, I'm going to go with Syracuse defensive lineman Fadil Diggs, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 2 tackles for loss, Brian. Syracuse plus 2.5 wins outright, under 60.5. 59. Close one in that one. Go Dogs. Number 1, Georgia rolling Tennessee Tech 48-3. Solid day overall for the Dogs, other than everyone wants to get that shutout at the end, but Tennessee Tech did get 3 on the board late. Carson Beck was fantastic. 72%, 242, 5 touchdowns, 3 carries for 18 yards. Excellent day for one of the Heisman Trophy front runners there. Gunnar Stockton came in for him then and was also very good, 83.3%. Just 90 yards on 10 carries, so that led to the low QBR there, only 38, but still an efficient performance for Stockton in this one in relief of Beck. And then for Tennessee Tech, Jordan Potts there, the Golden Eagles quarterback, 5 of 8, 62.5%, 18 yards. Not a lot of passing for Tech on the day. We got our first look at Georgia running back Trevor Etienne, suspended for the Clemson game, but back for this one. Nice kind of preseason atmosphere for Georgia, and especially Etienne. He got 5 carries, but he turned it awesomely into 78 yards, 15.6 yards per carry, and also caught 2 for 14 yards as well. So a good day for Etienne and a light workload, but excited to see him in some of the bigger games coming up starting this week against Kentucky. His teammate, running back Branson Robinson, ran a touchdown in. Georgia wide receiver Arian Smith led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Touchdowns also going to Georgia wide receivers Dylan Bell and Dominic Lovett, and Colby Young, and tight end Lawson Lucky caught one as well, all from Carson Beck. Defensively, I am going to go with Georgia defensive lineman Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 3 tackles for loss for the big man inside there. Tennessee Tech covered plus 54.5, and the under 68.5 covers easily. This was the shocker of Saturday. Northern Illinois, Rusty's Huskies, baby, going into South Bend, 16-14 win over number 5 Notre Dame, the first ever top 5 win for a MAC school, the first ever top 10 win for NIU. And I did not watch this game, but the NIU defense was outstanding. Notre Dame tried to kick a 62-yard game-winning field goal, and it got blocked, so the special teams were there as well all day. And it's concerning for the Irish. I know a lot of people have said it already, but it's 3 times now Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman that Notre Dame has had an unranked opponent come into South Bend. They paid them to come there. Northern Illinois got $1.4 million to come to South Bend and play Notre Dame. And this is the 3rd time under Marcus Freeman that they've lost to an unranked opponent in their house. So it's not great in terms of the program. And it's also not great when you look at the on the field. Riley Leonard, again, short passing is just, you need to open it up. You have to. I don't care if it's not your style of offense. Notre Dame, you are not going to go 11-1 like you're going to need to now. And you're going to have to beat people, like destroy, in order to get back into the college football playoff conversation. So you have to open up this offense. The running game obviously was solid again. Jeremiah Love, 7.2 yards per carry. That's hard to question. But the passing game just is not there. And you have a veteran quarterback. So like this is kind of the things that Notre Dame has to start to try to change if they want to reach their goals and reach where a lot of other people, including myself, thought that they were going to go this year. Anyways, into the stats. Quarterback Ethan Hampton for the Huskies, 52.6%, 198, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 21 yards. Riley Leonard, 62.5%, 163, 2 picks, though, 11 carries, 16 yards, and a rushing touchdown. NIU running back Ontario Brown, he led the game in rushing and receiving, 20 carries, 99 yards on the ground. How about 2 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown? That is crazily 63 yards per reception. Nice average there for Brown. I mentioned Jeremiah Love. He did score a touchdown for the Irish on the day. And Notre Dame wide receiver Bo Collins, the Clemson transfer, he led the game in receiving outside of Brown, 5 for 45. And defensively, I got to go with NIU defense tackle Devontae O'Malley, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. NIU covered plus 28.5. They win outright. Under 46.5 easily. 30 points. Number 11, Utah, maybe struggling a little bit more than people thought against Baylor, but got the win, 23-12 over the Bears. Daquan Finn for Baylor, not great. Just 9 of 21 passing, 42.9%, 115 yards, a touchdown. Did have a fumble as well. Cameron Rising, I'm hoping that it's a short-term thing and he can play next week. He got injured once again in this game. Concussion, I believe, was the ruling on that one. But he left Utah in a good place. They were up pretty big and had to hold on with the defense in the second half. But Rising, 57.1%, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries for 21 yards there. Isaac Wilson, that is Zach Wilson, Broncos quarterback Zach Wilson's brother. He is the Utah backup, true freshman. 4 of 9, 44.4%, 30 yards. So not the greatest, but did enough to get the win there. Utah running back Micah Bernard, he did more than enough to get the win. 19 carries, 118 yards on the day, 2 catches, 5 yards, and a receiving score. Utah wide receiver Money Parks, he caught a touchdown on his 3 catches for 80 yards, leading the game in receiving. Baylor wide receiver Josh Cameron, he also scored on one of his 2 catches. Defensively, there was some good play in this one. How about Utah safety Tal Johnson, 7 tackles, all of them solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a 77-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Baylor plus 14.5 covered, under 52.5. The Cy-Hawk Trophy goes to Iowa State and the Cyclones. 20-19 upset win over number 21 Iowa. The Hawkeyes just couldn't replicate it from last week. 40-0 win over Illinois State. Obviously, a much tougher opponent. Iowa State. Not to mention that it's the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy, interstate rivalry there, and Kate McNamara just wasn't it. 44.8%, not going to get it done. 99 yards, definitely not going to get it done. 2 picks, most certainly is not going to get it done on the day when the Iowa defense let up 20 points. Quarterback Rocco Becht for the Cyclones, though, he was pretty good. 65.7%, 272, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Second half, awesome for the Cyclones in this one. And Iowa, I mean, they were up 13-0 at one point and just could not get it done. They missed the 2-point conversion on their last touchdown. I believe, or maybe they just kicked 2 field goals. Yeah, they kicked 2 field goals to get up 19-17 there. But Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle for most of the day on offense for the Hawkeyes. Running back Caleb Johnson did not struggle, though. He was awesome once again. 25 carries, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 9 yards as well. 7.5 yards per carry on off 25 totes is ridiculous. Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel, over 100 receiving, 5 catches, 133 yards, a touchdown, had a big 75-yard receiving touchdown in this one to kind of flip the momentum there. His teammate, wide receiver Jaden Higgins, also caught a touchdown on one of his 8 catches. And defensively, I got to go with Iowa State defensive back Darian Porter. 2 tackles, both of them solos, and he had both interceptions from Cade McNamara on the day. Iowa State plus 2.5. They went outright over 36.5 by a bit. Number 22, Louisville. The Cardinals rolling once again, 49-14 over Jacksonville State, who has looked just dreadful through 2 weeks. They got blitzed by Coastal Carolina, gave up 55 points last week. They got blitzed by Louisville again this week, 49 points. So, 104 points in 2 weeks is not great for the Jacksonville defense. Jacksonville State defense, I should say. Anyways, into the numbers here. Tyler Schuff was just automatic. 63.6%, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns. His backup, Harrison Bailey, also came in, completed both of his balls for 28 yards. Jacksonville State quarterback Tyler Huff, the Furman transfer, 63%, 161 touchdown, a pick, 18 carries, 101 yards on the ground for Huff, and a touchdown. Big day rushing for the Furman transfer there. Louisville running back Maurice Turner, he led the game in rushing outside of Huff, 60 yards on 12 carries and a touchdown. His teammates Duke Watson, Kewan Brown, and Donald Chaney all ran for touchdowns in this one. And then his teammate wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks led the game in receiving, 6 catches, 89 yards. Touchdowns for the Cardinals receiving wise coming from Chris Bell, wide receiver Chris Bell, and tight end Mark Redmond, the San Diego State transfer. Louisville tight end Dwayne Martin also ran one in from 2 yards, along with catching a 6-yard reception. For Jacksonville State, though, their couple touchdowns from Tyler Huff, or their 1 touchdown from Tyler Huff, went to his tight end Sean Brown on his 2 receptions. And defensively, I am going to go with Louisville defensive lineman Jared Dawson, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Louisville minus 27.5 covered, over 56.5. Texas State, baby. Jimmy's Bobcats are rolling through 2 games, 49-10 beat down of UTSA. I was surprised this one was this far apart. I thought UTSA really played well last week, and Cade McCown was solid. Not solid in this one. Eddie Lee Marburger had to come in and play a little bit once it got kind of out of hand there. Jordan McLeod, though, was awesome for the Bobcats, 66.7%, 309, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 30 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I really think it's just a matter of time until GJ Kinney is a Power 4 head coach, really. I mean, his offense is spectacular. Eddie Lee Marburger, like I mentioned, came in the for Owen McCown there, 51.9% for Marburger, 147, 1 touchdown, a pick, 5 carries for 23 yards as well. McCown, like I said, not great, 43.5%, 105 in this one. Texas State running back Lincoln Perret, he had a great day, 109 yards, 11 carries, 2 touchdowns. UTSA running back Robert Henry, he led the Roadrunners in rushing, just 26 yards, so not a fruitful day. And then the UTEP transfer, running back Deion Hawkins for Texas State, he had a rushing score. His teammate, wide receiver Chris Dawn Jr., big day, 150 yards on 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns. And then UTSA wide receiver Willie McCoy catching the lone score for the Roadrunners in this one. Defensively, I am going to go with Texas State defensive end Ben Bell, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Texas State minus 2.5 covers quite easily. Over 58.5 by the hook. Number 6, Ole Miss rolling once again, 52-3 over Mid Tennessee. Jackson Dart was almost perfect, really, 92.6%. Started 24 of 24 in this one. 377 yards, a touchdown, and a rushing score as well. Ole Miss had Austin Simmons come in a little bit, 2 of 4 for 20 yards. For Mid Tennessee and the Blue Raiders, Nicholas Vadiato really wasn't bad. 63.6%, 209, 1 pick, and a fumble. Just the turnovers costly for them. And quarterback Roman Gagliano came in then 4 of 7, 57.1% for 41 yards. Massive day for Ole Miss. Running back Henry Parrish Jr., 14 carries, 165 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 16-yard reception. Ole Miss also got a rushing touchdown from running back Matt Jones. On the day, Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris led the game in receiving, 130 yards on 9 receptions. And then his teammate, wide receiver Antwain Wells Jr., Juice Wells, the South Carolina transfer, he caught a touchdown on one of his 6 receptions. Defensively, I'm going to go with Mid Tennessee, though. Safety John House, the 4th, 6 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense. Ole Miss minus 42.5, covers under 60.5. Number 12, Miami, 56-9 beatdown over Florida A&M. Cam Ward was spectacular once again, 76.9%, 304, 3 touchdowns, 4 carries, 13 yards, and a rushing score. So he's awesome. I have been super impressed by Cam Ward so far. Miami also had quarterback Reese Poffenbarger come in, the Albany transfer, 6 of 7, 85.7% for 20 yards, 5 carries for 12 yards there. Daniel Richardson, the Central Michigan transfer for FAMU, 76.5%, 131 and a pick. And his backup junior, Maradovich, just 2 of 11, 18.2%, 7 yards, 2 picks for Maradovich. Not great. Miami running back Damian Martinez, the Oregon State transfer, 91 yards on 11 carries, leading the game in rushing. He also scored on the ground and had a 15-yard reception. His teammate, Mark Fletcher Jr., touchdown on the ground, as did Miami running back Jordan Lyle. And running back Chris Johnson Jr. for the Canes, he scored through the air, receiving on one of his 2 receptions. My guy, love me some Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver for the Canes. He led the game in receiving, 104 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown. His teammate, tight end Elijah Arroyo, a 17-yard touchdown on his lone reception. Defensively, massive day for Tennessee. Transfer defensive lineman Tyler Barron, 5 tackles, 3 solos, 3 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. Man's been a monster through 2 games. Miami minus 46.5 covered, over 55.5 by themselves. Number 4, Alabama, 42-16, a blowout over USF. It was close, though, for a lot of this game here. I don't know what it is about USF. This one was in Tuscaloosa this year, and Alabama just consistently struggles against them. Luckily for the Tide, it really wasn't as close at the end like last year was. But, yeah, Bama figured it out in the second half, and Jalen Milroe got it going, 61.5%, 194, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing scores also, and a fumble. Byram Brown for the Bulls here, 42.9%, 103, 23 carries, 108 yards. So big rushing day for Brown, even in the blowout loss there. Alabama running back Jam Miller, though, he led the game in rushing. I can't remember if he's a redshirt freshman or if he's a true sophomore. I believe he is true sophomore, though. 140 yards on 15 carries, touchdown, and a fumble, and an 8-yard reception. His teammates, running back Justice Haynes, also scoring on the ground. USF running back Teron Keith scored on the ground as well. Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams, the true freshman, led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Milroe's other passing touchdown went to his other wide receiver, Kobe Prentice on his 2 receptions. Defensively, I'm going to go with Alabama defensive lineman Tim McKeenan III, 9 tackles, 3 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. USF plus 33.5 covers under 65.5. Number 9, Missouri, 38-0 shutout over Buffalo, and they scored just enough, thankfully, at the end to cover. Look, it didn't matter in the end, unfortunately. Or no, it did actually. Yeah, because I had them combined with Boise State. Yeah, so forgot it did end up mattering for myself. But yeah, so Brady Cook was pretty good, 77.8%, 228. Did have the interception, but 5 carries, 62 yards, 2 rushing scores on the day. I don't know if they're Heisman numbers. Like Logan has him winning the Heisman in our preseason picks, but nonetheless, Cook has the Tigers 2-0 and 2 blowout wins so far. Drew Pine, the Arizona State transfer, coming in for Cook in relief at the end, really good. Completed all 6 of his passes for 35 yards. And for the Bulls, quarterback CJ Ugbana, not good. 6 of 20, 30%, 55 yards a pick, 8 carries for 19 yards there. Missouri running back Nate Noel led the game in rushing, 73 yards on 12 carries, a touchdown, 4 catches for -3 yards. Freshman running back Jamal Roberts also got a touchdown on one of his 2 carries. Missouri wide receiver Theo Weiss Jr., excellent night for him, 149 yards on 13 receptions. And their other superstar wide receiver, Luther Burden III, didn't score through the air, but he did have a rushing touchdown on his 2 carries for 21 yards. Not a big receiving night, just 15 yards on 3 receptions for Burden there. And defensively, I got to go with Missouri defensive end Johnny Walker Jr., 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Mizzou, minus 34.5 covered, under 53.5 easily. Illinois, another upset we had over the weekend, 23-17 over number 19 Kansas in Champaign. Quarterback Luke Altmaier, pretty solid, despite no touchdowns, 64%, 192. Jalen Daniels struggled. The turnovers were ridiculous in this one. Daniels, 56.3%, 141, 2 touchdowns. 3 picks for him, 10 carries, 35 yards, and a fumble. So 4 total on the day for Daniels. Not great. And, I mean, the Kansas offense really didn't start out great against Lindenwood last week. And they got it going at the end. But I think you have to be concerned if you're a Jayhawk fan and you know, looking at the Jayhawks as one of the contenders in the Big 12. I know this is a good road game. Tough road game at Illinois, Brett Bielema. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how Kansas plays going forward. Devin Neal, though, had a good day for the Jayhawks on the ground, over 100 yards rushing, 101 on 14 carries. Illinois running back Caden Fagan, he scored on the ground. UTSA transfer wide receivers, or Ole Miss transfer wide receivers, Akari Franklin, I should say, formerly of UTSA, before Ole Miss, led the game in receiving, 99 yards on 9 receptions, had a crazy catch on the sideline, one-handed outstretched. Did have a fumble, which kind of put a damper on his day, but the Illini still got the win there. And for Kansas, the 2 touchdowns from Daniels went to wide receiver Lawrence Arnold on his 4 catches and wide receiver Luke Grimm on one of his 9 receptions. Defensively, how about the day for defensive back Xavier Scott and the Illini? 8 tackles, all of them solos. 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 picks. One of those returned 30 yards to the house, which was the difference of the game. 6 points there. Illinois plus 4.5 wins outright, under 58.5 easily. Number 2, Ohio State shellacking Western Michigan 56-0. This was the Ohio State everyone thought they were going to get this year, not the team that struggled against Akron last week. But yeah, so Will Howard finally came to fruition in this one, 69.2%, 292 touchdown, and a rushing score. Julian Sayin came in at the end, completed his 2 passes for 61 yards and a touchdown. And Devin Brown also coming in, completed all 5 of his passes for 57 yards. For Hayden Wolf and the Western Michigan Broncos, just 8 of 15, 53.3%, 71 yards. Not a great day. Obviously, tough defense to go against. OSU running backs Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, excellent day. 2 touchdowns apiece for them. Judkins, though, leading the game in rushing over 100 yards, 108 on 9 carries. And then their freshman running back James Peoples also scoring on one of his 10 carries. For Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, the true freshman, coming through once again. An excellent night, back-to-back weeks, 119 yards on 5 catches for a touchdown. Tight end Bennett Christian also catching a touchdown in this, a 55-yard touchdown from Julian Sayin at the end. Defensively, I got to go with Western Michigan linebacker Jacob Wahlberg, 6 tackles, 5 of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass defense. Ohio State minus 37.5 covers easily, over 54.5 by themselves. The Dukes Mayo Classic in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium, where the Carolina Panthers play. Number 14, Tennessee, just demolishing number 24, NC State, 51-10. And Nico Iamaleava, he has put himself and the Tennessee Volunteers on the CFP radar with this win. Excellent game for him and the Volunteers overall. So Iamaleava there, 69.6%, 211, 2 touchdowns. Did have the 2 interceptions. Both not great throws, but they really didn't matter in the end. 8 carries, 65 yards, touchdown. Killed the Wolfpack on with his legs as well throughout the night. For Grayson McCall, it's been 2 pretty shaky performances after coming over from Coastal Carolina this offseason. 68.2%, 104, 1 pick, 2 fumbles, 3 turnovers for McCall on the day. Nightmare performance for him, as described by the commentators. And, you know, NC State was another team that people thought maybe could be a sleeper in the ACC this year, but it has not looked very good, especially in this game. They did enough to come back and win against Western Carolina last week, but I got to see more. Got to see more from McCall. I loved him at Coastal Carolina. I have not been very impressed with his time at NC State so far. Tennessee ran the ball just down the throats of the Wolfpack defense. Dylan Sampson was the catalyst for that. 20 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 3 receptions for 37 yards. His teammate, wide receiver Squirrel White, led the game in receiving, 67 yards on 2 receptions. And touchdowns from Nico going to his tight ends, Miles Kitzelman, and the Notre Dame transfer Holden Stays. Defensively, the 2 pick sixes here, those are my 2 guys. NC State corner Aiden White, 5 tackles, 3 solos, an 87-yard pick 6. And Tennessee defensive back Will Brooks, 1 tackle, 1 pass defense, and an 85-yard pick 6. Tennessee minus 13.5 covers quite easily, over 59.5 by 1.5. Number 18, LSU, bouncing back from their loss to USC last week. Blowout win over Nicholls State, 44-21. Garrett Nussmeier was excellent, 73%, 302, 6 passing touchdowns for him, 2 carries for 13 yards. Nicholls, they had a quarterback, Pat McQuaid, 75%, 113 yards for him. And then Christian Arsenault came in after him, 2 of 4, 50% for 19 yards. Nicholls running back Colin Guggenheim, he had an excellent day, even in the loss. 145 yards on 25 carries, 2 touchdowns for him, and completed a pass for minus 5 yards. Concerning thing, again, I think for LSU, they lost John Emery to the torn ACL in the first game. Caleb Jackson was their leading rusher in this one. They didn't have a ground game, really. Him and Josh Williams both tied at 19 yards. Jackson, 9 carries. Williams, 4 carries there. So, yeah, I mean, it's concerning for the LSU offense, the lack of ground game, even though Nussmeier was excellent in the passing attack. Receiving-wise, the Liberty transfer, CJ Daniels, he led the game, 71 yards on 4 receptions. 3 touchdown night for wide receiver Kyron Lacey, a touchdown by wide receiver Xavion Thomas. As well. And then touchdowns from LSU also coming by way of, he's listed as a safety, Jawan Johnson and tight end Tradez Green there. For Nichols, though, they had 2 touchdowns and wide receiver Quincy Brown. He threw the 18-yard touchdown to tight end Lee Negrado. Defensively, there weren't a ton of stats. I'm going to go with LSU corner Zy Alexander, though. 3 tackles, 2 of them solo, and 2 passes defense. Nichols, plus 46.5, covers easily, over 57.5. Nebraska blowing out Colorado in Lincoln. 28-10 win for the Huskers. Matt Rule, great night for his team. Shore Sanders struggled once again, 60.5%, 244, touchdown, a pick, and just a 24.4 QBR there. Dylan Raiola, the freshman, was fantastic. I mean, I know, 76.7%, awesome. Only 185 yards, though, 23 completions. That's not great. The air yards need to get more downfield attack, but they did enough. He also threw a touchdown on the night there. He got a lot of help from the running game. Dante Dowell, leading rusher in this one, 74 yards on 17 carries, 2 touchdowns for him. So great night for Dowell. Travis Hunter had another outstanding night, even though the Buffs lost. 10 receptions, 110 yards on offense, and then defensively, 3 tackles, a solo, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass defense. Another good game for Hunter there. And Nebraska also getting a rushing touchdown from running back Ramir Johnson, I should say. Colorado wide receiver LaJonte Wester. Ramir Johnson caught a touchdown from Dylan Raiola there. 8 catches, 49 yards for him. Colorado wide receiver LaJonte Wester also catching the other touchdown, catching the touchdown from Shedeur Sanders there. And then defensively, I got to go with the touchdown guy there. Nebraska defensive back Tommy Hill, 6 tackles, 4 solos, and a 7-yard pick 6 ill-advised throw from Shedeur Sanders. I think his stock took a little bit of a hit with this game, as did his health, because he had to be pulled after getting hurt a little bit. Excellent game for Colorado safety Cameron Silman Craig, though, as well. Nebraska minus 7.5 covered, under 58.5 easily. Number 15, Oklahoma struggling against Houston this week, 16-12. I thought they were going to blow the Cougars out of the water. Just did not happen. Houston quarterback Donovan Smith, really excellent, 85.7%, 260, a touchdown. Did throw the interception, but other than that, he was efficient all night and wasn't really the issue for this Cougars team. Jackson Arnold, not as good as last week, 59.4%, 174, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 11 carries for 28 yards, but they were facing Temple. So just, Oklahoma running back Javonte Barnes, he led the game in rushing, 40 yards on 12 carries, 3 catches for 8 yards. Neither team really running the ball well. Houston wide receiver Joseph Manjack IV, he led the game in receiving, 72 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. You had a touchdown also from Oklahoma tight end Jake Roberts and wide receiver Brennan Thompson. Defensively, I got to go with Houston linebacker Michael Baton. 9 tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Houston plus 27.5 covers easily under 48.5. Just 28, that one. Number 25, Clemson bouncing back from the loss last week to Georgia, 66-20, shellacking of Appalachian State. Cade Klubnik was fantastic, 92.3%, just 2 incompletions on the day, 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 rushing scores as well. 7 total scores for Klubnik in this one. just a complete domination for the Clemson Tigers offensively. His backup, Christian Vizina, also really solid, 63.6%, 78 yards, 6 carries, 31 yards, and a rushing score. And for App, Joey Aguilar, he struggled, 43.9%, 214, a touchdown. Billy Wiles also threw one pass in this one for the Mountaineers, and it was an interception. Clemson running back Phil Maffa over 100 in this one, 118 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown. Appalachian State running back Anderson Castle, he scored on the ground as well. Clemson wide receiver Bryant Wesco Jr., the true freshman, great day, 130 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. His teammate tight end Jake Brenningstol, 2 touchdowns on 7 catches, also 100 yards even performance there. And then other touchdowns from Klubnik going to wide receiver Antonio Williams, wide receiver T.J. Moore. And Appalachian State wide receiver Mekhi Jackson also caught the lone touchdown from Joey Aguilar. Defensively, there wasn't a ton. I'm going to go with Clemson corner Avion Terrell, though. 2 tackles, 1 solo, 4 passes defense. Excellent coverage for him in this one. Clemson minus 13.5 covers easily, over 53.5 by themselves. Number 7, Oregon. It's getting kind of crazy in Eugene right now, people. I mean, 37-34 win over Boise State. Had to walk it off with a Sappington field goal. But it's getting late early in Eugene, I think. 2 close wins over teams that they thought they should probably beat, especially Idaho. That, a 10-point win over them was not great. Boise State, one of the top power group of 5 contenders for the college football playoff. Excellent night for them, and Oregon got the win, but it's concerning, I think, going into Big Ten play in a couple weeks. Anyways, Dylan Gabriel was efficient, 85.7%, 243, 2 touchdowns, a rushing score, did have a fumble as well. Maddox Madsen was the opposite, just 42.5%, 148 yards, a touchdown. But, I mean, Ashton Genty is just ridiculous. This kid has 9 touchdowns through 2 games. That's crazy. 25 carries, 192 yards, 7.7 yards per carry. 3 touchdowns, 2 catches for 8 yards, just not enough to give the Boise State Broncos the win in Eugene there. Also, 100-yard performance by Oregon's lead back, running back Jordan James, 102 yards on 17 carries. Oregon running back Jaden Lamar had a kick return touchdown. I guess it says a 0-yard kick return touchdown. I don't know what happened there. I think that was when Boise State muffed the kick return, I guess, and I don't know. Anyways, Oregon wide receiver Evan Stewart, the Texas A&M transfer, 100-yard day for him, 112 yards on 5 receptions, a touchdown. Wide receiver Trayshawn Holding catching a touchdown from Gabriel as well. And then Boise wide receiver Cameron Camper, he caught the lone touchdown pass from Maddox Madsen. And then Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson, just minus 1 yard on his 3 receptions offensively. But he had an 85-yard punt return touchdown that really gave the Ducks some momentum. And defensively, how about the night for Oregon defensive end Jordan Birch? 8 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 2 pass defense. Boise State plus 17.5 covered. That was one of my most confident plays of the weekend. Over 60.5. Number 20, Arizona, another top 25 team struggling in week 2, 22-10 over Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks giving them quite a fight. Noah Fafita, nowhere close to last week. 69.2%, 173, a touchdown and a pick. But they did get the win, did the Wildcats. The Lumberjacks, though, Ty Pennington, I have to believe that's Chad Pennington's son, 58.3%, 84 yards, 13 carries, 39 yards, and a fumble. Arizona got a good night from San Jose State transfer running back Quali Conley. Brent Brennan bringing him with him from the Spartans. 17 carries, 112 yards, 5 catches, 38 yards for him. His teammate running back Kedrick Riscano, rushing score on the night. Arizona wide receiver Jeremiah Patterson led the game in receiving. Not a great receiving day for anyone. 32 yards on 3 receptions and a touchdown. NAU got a touchdown reception from wide receiver Xander Werner and a 25-yard touchdown pass. The guy that threw that to Warner was his fellow wide receiver, Isaiah Eastman, for the Lumberjacks. And defensively, I am going to go with Arizona defensive lineman Trey Smith, another San Jose State guy. 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Northern Arizona plus 36.5 covers easily, under 63.5 easily. 32 in that one. Washington State, this was a great win for the Cougars, 37-16 over Texas Tech. Baron Morton for the Red Raiders, 58.6%, 323, a touchdown, 2 picks. Texas Tech also playing quarterback Cameron Brown, just 0 for 1 passing. However, great rushing at night for him. Led the game in rushing, actually, 70 yards on 5 carries. But the story of the night was Cougars quarterback John Mateer. Not great passing, 9 of 19, 47.4%, 115 yards, touchdown, and a pick. But running the ball, this man was wild. 21 carries, 197 rushing yards for a quarterback, and a rushing score. So excellent performance by Mateer in this one. And rushing touchdowns coming for the Cougars from running back Wayshawn Parker and Javensky Schlenbaker. He had 2 of them on the night, even in an inefficient rushing attack. Texas Tech got a receiving touchdown, by running back Cameron Dickey. Tech wide receiver Josh Kelly, the Washington State transfer, he led the game in receiving, 95 yards on 9 catches and a fumble. And his teammate, tight end John Carlos Miller, the second, caught a 20-yard touchdown. And Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams, the former UNLV transfer, 21-yard touchdown reception for him from Mateer. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Washington State defensive back Ethan O'Connor, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, and a pick. Washington State plus 2.5 wins outright, under 64.5. Final college game we had on the night, number 13 USC, 48-0 shutout over Utah State in the Coliseum. Miller Moss was awesome, 70%, 229, 1 touchdown. Jaden Mayava, the UNLV transfer, he came in late, 8 of 11, 72.7%, 66 yards of rushing score. He looked really good, guys. For Utah State, the Utah transfer quarterback Bryson Barnes, 66.7%, 103, and a pick. It was a big night for USC running back Woody Marks, the guy that sealed the win over LSU last week. He had a 100-yard performance, the Mississippi State transfer, 103 yards on 13 carries, touchdown, 3 catches for 39 yards. 2 touchdown day for his teammate, running back Quentin Joyner, on 10 carries there. And their other running back, Amarian Peterson, got in the end zone late as well. USC tight end Lake McCree, he led the game in receiving, 81 yards on 4 catches and a fumble. And a touchdown pass from Moss going to wide receiver Makai Lemon. Defensively, I'm going to go with USC linebacker Eric Gentry, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. USC minus 30.5 covered, under 62.5. And our FCS game of the week here. Number 1, South Dakota State taking down number 12, Incarnate Word. A big win for them after the big loss to Oklahoma State last week. Zach Calzada for the Cardinals here. Excellent night, really, in a loss. 79.5%, 351, 3 touchdowns, 7 carries, 43 yards. That's awesome for Zach Calzada in a loss. For Mark Gronowski, it wasn't the greatest night, but still really good. 65.6%, 285, 4 touchdowns. Did have the interception, but didn't cost the Jacks in this one here. Got a lot of help from the running game. Running back Amar Johnson, 112 yards on 19 carries, 2 touchdowns for him, 3 catches, 16 yards as well. UIW wide receiver Jalen Walthall, he led the game in receiving 137 yards on 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Also, an awesome night for his teammate, wide receiver Roy Alexander, 128 yards on 9 receptions and a touchdown. Also had a fumble. This kid, Griffin Wild, man, for the Jackrabbits, he's been something through 2 weeks. 106 yards, 10 receptions, 2 touchdowns for him. Other touchdowns from Gronowski going to wide receiver Graham Goring, who's also been very good, and at tight end Grayton Gannon in this one. And defensively, UIW defensive back Mason Chambers with a pick off of Gronowski, and South Dakota State safety Matthew Durantz with a fumble recovery from Roy Alexander there. So Incarnate Word covered a plus 25 over 52.5 easily, 69 in that one. Let's go to the NFL, and we're going to go all the way back to last Thursday NFL kickoff game because we didn't break this game down because we had our shows on Monday or Sunday and Wednesday last week. So we're going to break them down today. NFL kickoff game, Chiefs 27-20 win over the Ravens. Isaiah Likely a toe out of bounds, possible overtime there. Of course, friggin' John Harbaugh was going to go for 2 anyways. But yeah, Mahomes was really good. 71.4%, 291 touchdown, a pick. And Lamar, once again, he's running around, which is great. He can do that. We know he can do that. But he can't make the throws that he needs to in the big situations. He missed Zay Flowers wide open in the end zone. That would have potentially tied the game at the end as well. Missed Isaiah Likely on the corner 2 plays before he went in the end zone there and missed by a toe. But yeah, Lamar, 63.4%, 273, a touchdown, 16 carries, 122 yards, and a fumble. It was a very disappointing night for a lot of people that had Derrick Henry in fantasy, including myself. Just 46 yards on 13 carries, did score a touchdown, which I enjoyed, having him as the first touchdown scorer in the game, which was nice. Got some change there. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco also scoring in this one. And Isaiah Likely, the tight end for the Ravens, almost the hero, just completely dominated in this one. 111 yards on 9 catches, a touchdown, and 12 targets there. So really great opening day for Likely. Also, Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice over 103 yards on 7 receptions, 9 targets for him. So big workload. And then his teammate, first-round pick, wide receiver Xavier Worthy. 2 catches, 47 yards, a touchdown on 3 targets, and 21-yard rushing touchdown as well. Also, 10 targets for wide receiver Zay Flowers in this one, caught 6 for 37. Defensively, I'm gonna go with Ravens linebacker Roquan Smith, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, and a pick. Timely interception for Roquan as well. Chiefs minus 2.5 covered over 45.5. Go Birds, NFL Sao Paulo game. The Eagles 34-29 win over the Packers. I know a lot of Packers fans were concerned at the end of this one. Jordan Love going down with the knee injury. We'll talk about that in a sec. But Jalen Hurts, not great. The turnovers creeped over from last year. But they got the win. That's all that matters. 58.8% for Hurts, 278, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 13 carries, 33 yards, and a fumble. Jordan Love, just 50%, 260, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. That's the thing. He wasn't even playing spectacularly before he got injured anyways. So any solace given there for the Packers fans, I don't know. This was Saquon's game, though. Saquon Barkley, his first game as an Eagle was, perfect. It was perfect. It really was. 109 yards on 24 carries, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 23 yards, and a third touchdown through the air there. 3 touchdown night. Only Terrell Owens has done that in Eagles history in his Eagles debut, 2004 for T.O. Packers wide receiver Jaden Reed, excellent night, 138 yards on 4 catches, a touchdown, 6 targets for him. Also had a 33-yard rushing touchdown. Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown up to A.J. Brown things. 119 yards, 5 catches, touchdown on 10 targets. Christian Watson also caught a touchdown from Jordan Love on 5 targets in this one. Defensively, there were a ton of defensive performances in this one. I'm going to go with the Eagles, though, of course. Another new guy coming over from the Saints, linebacker Zach Bond. Crazy great night. 15 tackles, 11 of those solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. You also got to give it up the Packers corner Keyshawn Nixon. Excellent stat line for him as well. Eagles minus 1.5 covered over 49.5. On to yesterday, the Steelers. Look who lone wolf their guys, and it was this guy. This guy did everything for Pittsburgh. 18-10 against the Falcons. And I mean, I don't know what he's got to do to win more than his only 1 defensive player of the year that he has. He should have 3. Maybe put him on offense because, hey, that's how J.J. Watt got in the MVP conversation, not just the defensive player of the year conversation, but the MVP conversation. J.J. scored on offense a couple times in that season. So, just saying, maybe put TJ on offense. We'll see. Arthur Smith. But yeah, so Justin Fields got the start for Pittsburgh because Russell Wilson's calf tightness continuing to happen here. So, you know, it wasn't impressive for Justin Fields. However, he got the job done. He got the Steelers into field goal range and, you know, missed some throws, which it's been my bugaboo with Justin Fields his entire career. He cannot throw the ball. He was very accurate, though. I was surprised. 73.9%. Only 156 yards, though. Not great. 14 carries, 57 yards. We knew he can run the ball. But the missed throw to a wide open George Pickens on an out route was one. And then he threw behind Najee Harris, a little bit behind him that Najee couldn't corral it on a flare route. That would have probably been a first down as well. Those were just 2 throws that I saw that, I think Fields could work on. But they got the win. It's really all that matters at this point, right? As long as you win, it doesn't matter what your stats look like. Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins, he was disappointing in his Falcons debut. 61.5%, 155 touchdown, 2 picks. Probably both of them ill-advised. But for Kirk, it's interesting. I saw a tweet about the percentage of shotgun and pistol looks that they use and the amount that they pass and the amount that they run. They ran 81% of the time out of pistol, and they passed, I think, almost every single time in shotgun. So definite tell there. And maybe, I forget who it was on Twitter there. Maybe they're right. Maybe Kirk isn't fully recovered yet from the Achilles. We'll see. Najee Harris led the game in rushing, 70 yards on 20 carries and a 9-yard reception. Steelers wide receiver George Pickens, he led the game in receiving, 85 yards on 6 catches, 7 targets for him. Kyle Pitts, tight end for the Falcons, he had a touchdown on his 3 targets. And pick your guy defensively. For me, it's TJ Watt. I mean, he was the game changer. 4 tackles, 2 solos, a sack, 2 tackle swaps, 3 QB hits, fumble recovery as well. Could have had 2 strip sacks. They both got called back by penalty, and he was livid after the first one. They called him offside, and he did not think he was offside. It was close, I thought, potentially, but we'll see. Got to give it up to Falcons defensive end Grady Jarrett, also a nice day. 1.5 sacks, 2 tackle swaps, 3 QB hits. And, of course, Chris Boswell's the guy. He's the one guy that won the Steelers game. 6 of 6 field goals, 57 long in this one. He hit 3 from 50-plus in this game. Steelers plus 4.5 went outright, under 43.5 easily. 28 in that one. Yeah, the under didn't hit in this one. The Panthers got shellacked 47-10 by the Saints. It was early, it was often, and the Saints never let up. Derek Carr was phenomenal. 82.6%, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 carries for 13 yards. Bryce Young struggled. I mean, it was more of the same for the Panthers after a 2-15 season last year. First pass of the Dave Canales era went for an interception. Young threw another pick early in the second half, and there was just no coming back from the lack of defense for a Jiro Evero's unit. 43.3% for Young, 161. I mentioned the 2 picks, 4 carries, 12 yards, and the Panthers' lone touchdown on a run in the fourth quarter. Saints running back Alvin Kamara led the game in rushing, 83 yards, 15 carries, touchdown, 5 catches, 27 yards on 5 targets. Looked rejuvenated, 110 total yards on 20 touches in this one. His teammate, running back Jamal Williams, also scoring on the ground in this one. Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed led the game in receiving, 73 yards on 3 receptions, a touchdown off 5 targets, 59-yard touchdown reception, the big one for him. Derek Carr also throwing touchdowns to tight ends Foster Moreau and Jawan Johnson, all 4 and 3 targets respectively. And defensively, how about the crazy game for Saints corner Alontae Taylor? 6 tackles, 5 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense, and 3 QB hits for the cornerback. Yes. The Saints minus 3.5 covered easily, over 41.5 by themselves. Crazy game here. Bills come back and win 34-28 over the Cardinals. They were down 17 to 7, I believe, or 17-0, something like that, early on, and they got their offense rolling in the second half. Behind Josh Allen, 78.3%, 232, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 39 yards, 2 rushing scores, and a fumble. Kyler Murray looked really good in the first half. In the second half, he went away, 67.7%, 162, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 57 yards, and a fumble. Bills running back James Cook leading the game in rushing, 71 yards, 19 carries, 3 catches, 32 yards. Cardinals running back James Conner scoring on the ground in this one. Bills rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman, he led the game in receiving, 51 yards on 4 catches, caught 4 of 5 targets. And other touchdowns for Buffalo, or touchdowns for the Bills from Allen, went to wide receivers Khalil Shakir and Matt Collins, and Cardinals wide receiver Michael Wilson caught the lone passing score from Kyler Murray. Defensively, got to go with Bills defensive end Greg Rousseau, 6 tackles, all of them solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles lost, and 2 QB hits. And props to the Cardinals, running back DJ Dallas, 96-yard kick return touchdown, the first kick return touchdown of the dynamic kickoff. The Cards plus 6.5 covered, like I told you they would, by the hook, over 45.5. This was the shocker of the weekend, and it killed my survivor pool picks before they even started. Patriots 16-10 over the Bengals. First win of the Gerard Mayo era. Joe Burrow efficient, 72.4%, but the air yards, that's ridiculous. 164 yards on 21 completions is crazy. 4 carries for 15 yards there as well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was with this Bengals offense. They just could not get it rolling. The Patriots defense, excellent. Jacoby Brissett, efficient, 62.5%, 121, no turnovers, 7 carries, 32 yards as well. Got the old legs running there for Brissett. Ramondre Stevenson was the catalyst for the Patriots offense, though. 120 yards on 25 carries, did have a touchdown and 3 catches for 6 yards. Zach Moss scored in his first game as a Bengal, coming over from Indianapolis in the offseason. Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase, he led the game in receiving, caught all 6 of his targets for 62 yards. And then defensively, a lot of great performances. But I got to go with Patriots defensive end Keon White, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. Patriots plus 7.5 went outright, under 40.5, 26 in that game. Vikings beating up the Giants 28-6. Sam Darnold was awesome, 79.2%, 208, 2 touchdowns. Did have a pick, didn't cost them though. Daniel Jones was good old Daniel Jones, 52.4%, 186, 2 picks, including a pick 6 carries, 15 yards there. How about the debut, the Vikings debut for running back Aaron Jones coming over from Green Bay this year? 94 yards, 14 carries, a touchdown, and 15 yards off 2 catches. Giants rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors led the game in receiving, 66 yards on 5 receptions, caught 5 of 7 targets there. Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson catching a touchdown on his 6 targets. And then big target share for Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, 12 targets, only caught 6 though. And Vikings wide receiver Jalen Naylor caught his only target for a 21-yard touchdown from Darnold. Defensively, the day for Vikings linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel was awesome. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 pass defense, 2 QB hits, and a 10-yard pick 6 to seal the game up. Vikings -1 cover easily, under 41.5. The Bears 24-17 comeback over the Titans. They were down 17-0 or 17-3, whatever it was. No, they were down 17-0. 24 unanswered for Chicago. Pretty shaky for Caleb Williams, but got the win anyways. Will Levis started out really good, 59.4% for him, 127 yards, touchdown, 2 picks though, 4 carries, 36 yards, and a fumble. All 3 of those turnovers in the second half for Levis there. Caleb Williams, 48.3%, 93 yards, 5 carries, 15 yards there. So a lot to work on for the number 1 overall pick, but got the win nonetheless. Titans running back Tony Pollard, good debut for him in a Titans uniform coming over from the Cowboys, 82 yards, 16 carries, touchdown, 3 catches for 12 yards. Titans wide receiver Calvin Ridley, another new addition over from Jacksonville in the offseason, led the game in receiving, 50 yards on 3 catches. Caught just 3 of his 7 targets, though, so got to work that out. Big target share for wide receiver Keenan Allen, 11 targets. Only caught 4, though, 29 yards. I heard he dropped the touchdown as well. And then Titans tight end Chig Okonkwo, he caught a touchdown on one of his 2 targets. And it's a lot of small print because there's a lot of defensive performances. It's hard to pick, but it's got to be the Bears 2 guys defensively. I know 3 guys actually. Darrell Taylor, who they just got from the Seahawks like a week and a half ago, 8 tackles, 7 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Great debut for him. You also had a Bears corner Tyreek Stevenson, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 pass defense, and a 43-yard pick 6. That gave the Bears the lead. And then Simone Biles' husband, safety Jonathan Owens for Chicago, 21-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown there. So, yeah, Bears continue to dominate on the day. The Bears covered -4.5, under 42.5. Dolphins walk one off 20-17 over the Jags. Yeah, it was tough early. Jags up 14-zip. Dolphins coming back and eventually got 2 fourth quarter Jason Sanders field goals and got this one in the bag there. Tua Tagovailoa, 62.2%, 338, 1 touchdown, and an 11-yard carry. Trevor Lawrence, shaky, 57.1%, 162, and a touchdown. Second half was horrendous for the Jaguars offensively. Running back Tank Bigsby led the game in rushing, 73 yards on 12 carries. His running mate Travis Etienne Jr., though, did get in the end zone on the ground early. Also had a fumble at the 1-yard line, which cost the Jags dearly. Dolphins running back Devon Achane, touchdown run for him. Also massive workload in the receiving game. Caught all 7 of his targets for 76 yards. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, big day, 130 yards on 7 receptions, and a 80-yard touchdown was one of them off of his 12 targets. 100-yard day for his teammate as well, wide receiver Jalen Waddle. 5 targets, caught all 5 for 109 yards. And Jags touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence going to wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., which was an awesome layered pass that he caught on one of his 4 targets. And defensively, a lot of good performances in this one. I'm going to go with Jags defensive end Trayvon Walker, the former number 1 overall pick. 6 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 QB hits. Jags plus 3.5 covered by the hook, under 49.5. Texans get a 2-point win over the Colts, 29-27. CJ Stroud was awesome, 75%, 234, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries for 13 yards. Anthony Richardson was up and down. The passing numbers just not there. 9 of 19, 47.4%, 212, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 56 yards, and a rushing score. So 3 total scores for Richardson, but the passing needs a lot of work. Most of his passing numbers came off his 2 touchdowns, 2 long scores. How about the Texans debut for former Bengals running back Joe Mixon? Massive workload, 30 carries, 159 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches for 19 yards through the air as well. His counterpart, running back Jonathan Taylor, struggled on the ground but did get in the end zone. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, big day for him, over 125 yards on 3 catches, caught all 3 of his targets and a touchdown. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins, 8 targets for him, caught 6 of those for 117 yards. Colts wide receiver Ashton Doolin, he caught his lone target for a 54-yard touchdown. And then another debut for the Texans, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, big day for him. Caught all 6 of his targets. Only 33 yards, though, but he did have 2 touchdowns, which was excellent. And defensively, let's go with Colts defensive tackle DeForest Buckner. 6 tackles, 5 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Colts plus 3.5, covered over 48.5. Chargers, Jim Harbaugh era, starting off on a good note, 1-0, 22-10. Win over the Raiders, also very important because the division win. For the Raiders, though, Gardner Minshew was ultra efficient, 75.8%, 257 touchdown. But the turnovers crept up in the middle of this game. 1 pick and a fumble gave the Chargers momentum that they never relinquished. Quarterback Justin Herbert, it wasn't great, 65.4%, 144 yards on 17 completions. The air yards, again, not very good. Touchdown, though, he did throw 1. The star of this one was J.K. Dobbins, though. An excellent return for the former Ravens running back. 135 yards on 10 carries, a touchdown, and 3 receptions for 4 yards. Raiders running back Alexander Mattison coming over from the Vikings. Not a great day running the ball, but receiving-wise, 6 targets, caught 4 for 43 and a receiving touchdown. Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers led the game in receiving, 61 yards on 3 catches, caught all 3 of his targets. How about the rookie for the Chargers? Second-round wide receiver Ladd McConkey, go Dogs. 7 targets for him, caught 5 for 39 and a touchdown. That sealed this one for L.A. Defensively, a lot of great performances in this game. I'm going to go with Chargers linebacker Khalil Mack, though. 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, then 2 QB hits. The stars were out on defense. Max Crosby, Joey Bosa, all excellent days. And how about defense tackle Puna Ford for the Chargers with an interception? Big man catching the ball. The Chargers -3 covered easily, under 40.5. Seahawks 26-20 over the Broncos. And even though the Broncos lost, one, I pushed my +6, and two, I didn't think Bo Nix looked as bad as many people think he did. Anyways, Geno Smith, ultra efficient, 72%, 171, touchdown and a pick, 4 carries, 30 yards, and a rushing score. Bo Nix, like I said, the issue is that you're throwing 42 times with a rookie quarterback. That's your issue. 61.9%, though, not bad. 138 yards, that's not great on 26 completions. That's one of the biggest issues in this game for the Broncos offensively. It was too much of the short passing game. I know they were, trying to do that to help Nix out, but I think if you just let Bo be Bo and, let him make the mistakes that he needs to make, he'll get them corrected. He's a very intelligent guy and very experienced college quarterback. So, he made 2 mistakes, threw 2 interceptions in this one, but I think he will look at that and get it corrected and be better for it. So 5 carries, 35 yards, and a rushing score as well. Got the Broncos to within 1 score at the end. Thank you, Mr. Nix. Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III. John Babington told me, yeah, him and Charbonnet are going to get a lot of split. Well, it didn't look that way in this one. 103 yards on 20 carries for Walker, a touchdown, 2 receptions for 6 yards. Very happy after 1 week with Peter Schrager telling me that intel of why Kenneth Walker should be a breakout guy this year. Zach Charbonnet did score, though, through the air. He caught 2 catches for 29 yards and a receiving touchdown. Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett, he led the game in receiving, 7 targets, caught 6 for 77 yards. Big target share for Broncos wide receiver Cortland Sutton, 12 targets, caught only 4, though, for 38 yards. So, gotta get that connection down with him and Nix in this one. And defensively, a lot of great performances, a lot of tackles in this one. But I'm going to go with Broncos linebacker Jonathan Cooper, 6 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 4 QB hits. Broncos +6.5 covered by the hook. I wish I would have got 6.5. That would have been awesome. Over 42.5. Cowboys putting a beat down on the Browns in Tom Brady's broadcasting debut, 33-17 in Cleveland. Dak Prescott was really good, 59.4%, 179, a touchdown. Deshaun Watson was not great, 53.3%, 169, touchdown, 2 picks, 5 carries, 39 yards. The issue was Dallas was getting set up on short fields because of the turnovers, for one, and because, the Cowboys defense under new defense coordinator Mike Zimmer was just dominating this Browns offensive line. 2 new tackles in the game because of injury for Cleveland. They don't have their guys there yet. So, they weren't the normal starters going against these guys, but I don't know if it would have mattered the way that the Cowboys were rushing the passer in this game. So, yeah, it was a very difficult day for Deshaun. Didn't have a lot of time all day. Browns running back Jerome Ford led the game in rushing, 44 yards on 12 carries, a touchdown, 6 catches, 25 yards on 7 targets. And again, this is what I thought. The Cowboys really couldn't run the ball. Zeke had 4 yards per carry, which is fine. He did score as well. But I think going forward in closer games, I just do not believe the Cowboys are going to be able to run the ball. That's just me. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb living up to that contract, 10 targets, only caught 5, though, for 61 yards, led the game in receiving. Touchdown reception from Dak went to hit the wide receiver 2, Brandon Cooks, on 7 targets. And the new Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy getting in from the Broncos in the offseason caught a touchdown on his 8 targets, only caught 3 of those, though. And, of course, special teams man himself, wide receiver Kevontae Turpin, 60-yard punt return touchdown, didn't catch his only target on offense. Defensively, I mean, it's who's who you want to pick. I'm going to go with Cowboys defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, though, 5 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits. But, I mean, Eric Kendricks had a great day for Dallas. Micah Parsons had a great day. DeMarvion Overshone. I mean, you can pick anyone you want, really, on the Dallas defense. Cowboys plus 2.5 win outright over 42.5 easily. 50 in that one. Another blowout. The Bucks beating up on the Commanders 37-20 in Tampa. Baker Mayfield was outstanding. 80%, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 carries for 21 yards. Everything was working for Baker Mayfield in this Bucks offense. Jaden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick, struggled. He was efficient at 70.8%. Only 184 yards, though. Was great on the ground. 16 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Bucks rookie running back Bucky Irving. He led the game in rushing outside of Daniels. 62 yards on 9 carries, 2 catches for 14 yards. Hopefully anyone that didn't get him as a steal late in the draft, I think he's going to have a great season. He's going to take Rachaad White's place eventually. So watch out for Bucky Irving, super explosive back there in Tampa. And if he's still available, go after him on the waiver wire if you need a running back, which I know I need some backup help there. Brian Robinson Jr. got in the end zone for Washington on this game as well. Bucks wide receiver Chris Godwin, he led the game in receiving 83 yards, caught all 8 of his targets and a touchdown. His running mate, wide receiver Mike Evans, big day for him. 6 targets, caught 5 of those for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the rookie wide receiver Jalen McMillan, 3 targets, caught 1 for a 32-yard touchdown. And then defensively, I am going to go with Bucks linebacker Servassier Dennis, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit. Bucks minus 3.5 cover easily over 42.5. Last game here, Sunday Night Football. Lions getting it done in overtime, 26-20 over the Rams. Matthew Stafford loses once again in Detroit. But he was really good. 69.4%, 317 touchdown and a pick. End zone interception. Pretty unprecedented for Matthew Stafford. Both the interceptions really for the quarterbacks were not great throws. But 49 times throwing with Matthew Stafford is not really what you want to see with Sean McVay there. Jared Goff was up and down. 64.3%, just 217 yards passing. 1 touchdown and a pick. Thought there would be more passing offense from the Lions. They really struggled for a good majority of the middle of this game, but got it done at the end to tie it and go win the game in overtime. Dave Montgomery was the guy that won it in overtime. 91 yards on 17 carries, touchdown, 2-yard reception. Kyron Williams got in the end zone for the Rams, as did Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions as well. Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams. How about the third-year guy coming off, couple of years that is tough years there, injury and suspension, but led the game in receiving 121 yards, 5 catches, caught 5 of 9 targets there, and a touchdown. Super explosive, and he's going to add an interesting element to this Detroit offense. Cooper Kupp was a monster on this night. 21 targets. That's ridiculous. Caught 14 of them, 110 yards and a touchdown. Excellent night for anyone that had Cooper Kupp in fantasy. And defensively, I'm going to go with Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 4 QB hits. Rams offensive line struggling most of the night. Hutchinson taking advantage of that. Lions minus 5.5 covered by the hook under 53.5. Let's go to UFL news. And it was a sad day over the weekend. I think it was Saturday that it got announced. Showboats wide receiver DeAndre Overton was shot multiple times at a party in Greensboro, North Carolina, and passed away. 26 years old, just ridiculous tragedy there. And I feel for all the Showboats fans, for all the Clemson fans. That's where he went to school, and for the whole Overton family. Thoughts and prayers going out to them. UFL to NFL, the Vikings, they worked out Stallions punter Brock Miller. So monitoring that one there. NFL news. Right before kickoff of the Sunday games, the NFL announced, and I guess he did himself, Kendrick Lamar will be performing at the halftime of Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans I'm excited. Another modern performer, which is what we've loved to see these last couple of years. So excited to see it continuing. And I think Kendrick's going to put on a nice performance in NOLA. IR guys here. Ravens rookie running back Rasheen Ali. Rams corner Darius Williams with a hamstring injury. Panthers tight end Ian Thomas with a calf injury. Commanders quarterback Marcus Mariota. And Chargers wide receiver DJ Chark Jr. all placed on IR, out at least the next 4. Injury-wise, Chiefs wide receiver Hollywood Brown dealing with his sternoclavicular or SC joint injury. He could return this week, so good news for the Chiefs offense, getting another option for Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson coming back from his torn ACL last season, on PUP right now, targeting potentially a week 7 return. I know Jimmy said about week 5, but Sleeper had an article there on week 7 potentially for Hawk in Minnesota. Ravens linebacker Kyle Van Noy injured in the kickoff game, fractured orbital bones. That's crazy injury to have when you're wearing a helmet. However, they do not have an update on how long Van Noy will be out. Good news for the Packers. Quarterback Jordan Love getting injured at the end of that game in Sao Paulo. But, like I said, it's good news. MCL sprain for Love. 3 to 4 weeks is the diagnosis there. They are not placing him on IR, so they do believe he's going to be back before 4 weeks. So we will see and monitor every week where Jordan Love is. And Coach LaFleur announcing today Malik Willis will be the starter if Love cannot play. And interesting, just acquired by Tennessee at the cutdown deadline there. So not a lot of work in this offense for Willis, and we'll see how the Packers do. Titans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. He is playing through an MCL tear, was questionable going in, did play in that game against Chicago. But, interesting to watch how Hop plays the rest of this year. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. He's working through an ankle injury, got ruled out during that game on yesterday. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua. He is week to week with a knee injury, and it was announced today actually that he will be placed on IR. He is out the next 4 games. Rams also having offensive lineman Steve Avila injured his knee. He has an MCL sprain. MCL sprain's a popular injury after week 1. Browns tight end David Njoku, he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. Panthers, big news for Carolina. Not that they already weren't hurt enough by the blowout by the Saints there. But tight end or defensive tackle Derek Brown, potential season-ending meniscus injury. They'll see when they go in and do the surgery whether he's got to do a full repair or a trim, but not looking great with Derek Brown. One of the Panthers, if not the best Panthers defender that they have. So tough start to the season, got even tougher for Carolina. Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson, he has an MCL sprain and a bone bruise. He is listed as week to week. Saints corner Marshawn Lattimore, he has a minor hamstring injury, should be okay to play this week though against Dallas in a big matchup against CeeDee Lamb. Steelers, bad news for Pittsburgh punter Cameron Johnston. He is out for the year with a knee injury. So Pittsburgh looking at the punters. I mentioned Brock Miller working out for the Vikings. Might be an option there in Pittsburgh. The Bears, rookie wide receiver Roma Dunze. He is going to have an MRI on his knee. I haven't heard anything on that yet, but we'll continue to monitor the Roma Dunze situation and see what his injury is. Raiders edge rusher Tyree Wilson. He has a knee sprain. And the Jags corner Tyson Campbell. He will miss some time. He has a hamstring injury. The Commanders, they are back on the kicker watch. They released kicker Cade York today after missing 2 field goals against the Buccaneers. And I think that Brandon McManus, could be a potential reunion there after they released him earlier this offseason. He was cleared of his charges in his legal situation. So potentially coming back to Washington will be Brandon McManus, but we will see. Let's talk about money. A lot of guys got paid right before the season started. The Cowboys got their quarterback signed. Quarterback Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $240 million extension. $231 million guaranteed, $80 million signing bonus, largest for a quarterback ever, and $60 million per year. It's I quite enjoy this contract. I think the Cowboys are doing a masterful job of self-harm. It's just they're never going to win a Super Bowl with Dak. It's just not going to happen. I don't care what they looked like on Sunday. Dak has always been a guy that's played very well in the regular season. When they get to the playoffs, he just cannot make the throws they need to. And yeah, and now I asked this to a couple of friends. I was like, so where are they going to find the money to pay Micah Parsons? Because he's one of, if not the best defensive players in the league. And they're paying Dak 60 a year, CD, whatever it was, 31 or whatever. I just don't know where they're going to get the money to pay Micah. That's a lot of cap in like 3 players. And yeah, I don't know. The Dolphins, they signed corner Jalen Ramsey to a 3-year, $72.3 million extension. $55.3 million guaranteed there. He now becomes the highest paid corner in the NFL. Jumps Pat Surtain pretty quickly after Surtain signed his extension just a day or two before Ramsey did. So, yeah, Jalen Ramsey, highest paid corner once again in the league. Steelers, they got a deal done. They signed tight end Pat Freiermuth to a 4-year, $48.4 million extension. Now one of the top paid tight ends in the league. Very happy for Freiermuth. I think he's got a good season coming under Arthur Smith. Didn't have a great game week 1. Obviously, the quarterback play hurts a little bit, but we'll see how Pat can move forward there. 9.7 fantasy points, though, not terrible for a tight end. The Chiefs, they signed backup tight end Noah Gray to a 3-year, $19.5 million extension, $10 million guaranteed for Gray. I think that's a great deal for Kansas City. He's really an integral part, more than I think a lot of people think or know in this Chiefs offense. Noah Gray had a really solid week 1 game against the Ravens and will continue to be featured in this offense with Travis Kelce and be the successor, looking like it anyways, for Kelce. And the Bills, they signed right tackle Spencer Brown to a 4-year extension, keeping him protecting Josh Allen's front side for the foreseeable future. And the Browns, they have signed now. I have it written down as a workout, but they have now signed Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney to their practice squad. So, yeah, I mean, the Browns looked pretty non-potent offensively yesterday. So maybe Kadarius Toney can be the difference. I highly doubt it, though. All right, let's get to the college football preview here. Just one game to note. There's actually 2 FBS games going down on Thursday, but the game to note that I'm going to be looking at on Thursday, Arizona State, the 2-0 Sun Devils have really surprised me. Cameron Scattaboo, the running back, has been awesome. They are 2.5-point favorites at Jimmy's Texas State Bobcats. They are also 2-0. GJ Kinney's got this offense humming, and I'm rolling with the Bobcats. I've been on them. I picked them to be my Group of 5 conference champion in the college football playoff. So I still think they can win the Sun Belt, and they've probably looked the best out of any of the Sun Belt contenders that I can think of, other than maybe Coastal Carolina. But yeah, I like Texas State in that one. It's going to be a very tough matchup. high scoring, I think. So I'm taking the over 58.5 in that one. 7:30 on ESPN Thursday night. All right, pick standings. So this is the Monday show. So we're picking the Monday Night Football game of the current week and the Thursday Night Football game of the next week. So we have just our pick from the opener, Logan and John, 1-0. My bad, I forgot to switch the last week column there. Logan and John, though, they both go 1-0. They picked the Chiefs in the opener. Jimmy and I, we are down at 0-1 and picking the Ravens last Thursday. So we got two picks here. The Monday night game to round out week 1 here. The Jets at the 49ers, -3.5 for the Jets here. I really like, for the 49ers, I really like San Fran. Maybe not against the spread. It's more of the question mark game than I think, but I do like San Fran. I think they're the more complete team, and I think there's still a lot of question marks, both offensively and defensively for New York. Not having Hassan Reddick is going to be a big blow. The 49ers get both Brandon Ayuk, who's going to have a full complement of snaps, and Trent Williams, who's going to be limited in his snaps tonight. Or reverse. Trent Williams is going to have a full workload. Brandon Ayuk's going to be a little bit limited on his reps. But I still think they're the more complete team, and I think they should win and potentially cover the spread. I'm not going to play that, though. I might play like a teaser, though, with this one and the Thursday night game. We'll see. Total is 43.5, and I want to say under because of these defenses, but with how much offense these teams could potentially put out, I am not touching that line. 8:15 p.m. ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus. Thursday Night Football, Bills at the Dolphins. Fins getting 2.5, it's actually now, at home, and we are split once again, just like we were for the NFL kickoff game. Logan and Jimmy rolling with Buffalo. John and I, we are rolling with the Dolphins. I think they're the better team. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, I think, anyways. Granted, I thought the Dolphins game against the Jags was going to be high-scoring. Turnovers maybe derailed that, but it's 49.5. I can't take that. I know the Bills just won 34-28, so maybe I will. We'll see how I feel. But, yeah, I like the Dolphins in this one. They played the better team in the Jaguars last week and had to overcome a lot of stuff. I still think there's a lot to work with defensively for the Dolphins, but the Bills defense struggled a lot, gave up 28 points. So I like the Fins to take advantage of the Buffalo secondary in this one. Total's 49.5. Like I said, not really playing that, but I lean on the over. 8:15 p.m. Prime Video. That's the show for today. Next week we'll be back NFL Week 3. We'll get you all your game recasts from the college and the NFL ranks, and we'll get you your Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football previews. Monday night wrap-up of Week 2 is the Falcons at the Eagles, and we got an AFC East showdown on Thursday. Patriots at the Jets there. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast and Instagram and X, FAA _bets as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all back on Football Friday.